Hello everybody, this is Ryan Wadsman with MarineNet, and the goal today, the goal is actually just to make ourselves, force ourselves to be on camera, and we want to run through a list of items, some things relative to a well future and some stuff that Marie and I have going on. I think that we'd like to do this a little bit more in future. This is going to be a bit of a test. I'm going to clip a few of these pieces up for use in various spots around the site. So I know on the top of our head, some of the things we wanted to talk about, the A Well Future Affiliates program is one, some current event stuff that's going on in the world and how that fits with...
really, with the purpose of our site.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just a few other sort of odds and ends, things we have coming up in the future. So let's start with, which one of these do you want to start with? Let's start with the current events one. Because sure. It's the kind of the practical application or a sort of contextual understanding of sort of where we're coming from. So, and Marie and I started talking about this morning, and I made her stop. And I said, wait, no, we're going to put a camera on to have this discussion.
Well, and I think it's really important. It's really important what's going on now. I mean, when you think about since January 1st, 2011, and we're not very far along in the year, and just how much has been happening in the world. And that's to say nothing about what's been happening in individual lives. I mean, because we've got these major crises going on in the world doesn't mean things stop in our day-to-day life, and we still have our regular stresses too. And so really, stress is a big issue in our health and wellness. One of the things I'll just point out is I've been reading a book that was recommended by one of our associates, Dr. Cara Denisio, who's a naturopath, and she was reading the book called When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate, and he really talks about the impact of stress. And when you read that book, you really realize, I mean, stress is a major contributing factor in just about everything that interferes with our health, one way or another. I mean, it's happening inside of our body, but it's there. So one way we can really work on the whole idea of staying well and being as well as possible is to work on how we're going to build our resilience and handle stress.
I'm glad you said build resilience and not hide from the world around us. Because I mean that's one, and that's the sort of comment I made this morning, that as far as what's happening in Japan right now, and we're recording this video in 2011 March, in case somebody finds this 25 years in the future. Japan has just suffered a tremendous natural disaster, earthquake, and I've been there's an earthquake in Facebook and Twitter and an online world of information and video and uncertainty and all kinds of and misinformation, and I personally chose to just I realize it exists, I'm cognizant, but I had to kind of not watch the videos, not read the articles, and am I the right path to take? Am I preventing myself from stress, or am I just kind of sidestepping it?
Well, yeah, like I think that's really a good question, Ryan. The fact is, there are major things going on in the world. There's not just Japan, there's the Middle East too, which just having been there, it really kind of... In general,
I'm trying to seclude I'm trying to protect myself from a lot of what that...
Because you've got enough stress in life, right?
Well, yeah, I've got very pertinent things at my desk.
But you know what? It's still there. Like, you still are aware it's there. Yeah. You can't avoid it because it's there. So, we have to protect ourselves somewhat, because if you're one of these people who are watching TV stations such as CNN and being glued to it and watching these images constantly bombarding the brain, I mean, that's really giving yourself more stress than you need. It's like I am choosing to really increase the stress in my life, so I'm letting these images come. We don't need that. If people think that their measure of compassion has something to do with the number of hours they're watching the images, it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work. So we need to figure out, how do we have compassion, do something about it? Because whenever people have stress, there's this need to feel, what can I do to help? But it doesn't mean we've got to sit there glued and watching all of the images.
Right. That's not terribly productive for anyone in need as a result of the situation and for yourself.
Keeps you trapped.
Yeah.
really, and keeps your brain in a real rut. I mean, you can look at what's happening in Japan, what's happening in the Middle East. I mean, the countries in the Middle East, it changes from week to week, but it's all there, what's happening. I mean, you can look at the disaster, the suffering that's going on. You can really, you know, figure the corruption in the Middle East, the brutality, the torture that's either happening or going to happen. You can really focus on that. But, you know, it's really interesting when you watch what's happening in Japan, and you can think of the resilience of those people. I mean, what they've come through and what they're able to do. The organization that they have and actually being able to handle this. I mean, if any country can handle something like this, we're watching a country that's got the wherewithal to do it. And so then the leadership they're showing, their means of communicating, it's altogether different than the communication we're seeing coming out of places like Libya, you know, and what's happening with their people. When you look at the Middle East and you see the passion that these young people have to make, not just young, but they're the people who've inspired the movement. Yeah, for a cause that they feel is really important, and they're willing to give up their lives and go through horrible suffering and anguish because it's something they believe in. Now we're looking at what are the strengths that we're seeing, and if we can somehow help that, in a way we're connecting with the strengths of those people to handle the situation instead of connecting with the negative side of it, the downside. To me, we're being helpful in doing that.
Okay. What about preparedness in terms of just, and this can be applied, I think, maybe to, you know, the situation, this global situation, but also I think ourselves personally. Is preparedness a good first step in reducing stress, or what's our takeaway from this in terms of stress management and what people should think about?
Yeah, well, I think we've got to figure out, so how do we best handle our stress? What can we do? And here's where that whole concept of wholeness comes in, as far as I'm concerned, because dealing with stress has to do with not just our mindset, but our mindset's really important, but also our physical health. You know, our nutrition, you know, the amount of sleep we're getting, how we're handling things when we get upset. What do we do? Is that constructive, or is there something that really works better than, you know, having a drink or whatever? I mean, are there things that we know have worked so we can keep building those? Are we learning more about ourselves, being more aware of what works for us, and then being prepared? Yeah, preparedness is huge because, I mean, 2011 has started off with a major change in the world, and you think, so what's next?
Yep. I don't want to think about it right now. Okay, so for more stress management stuff on the site, I'd recommend people check out our video with Kara.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that one off the top of my head.
It's related to the immune system,
Yep.
and she really
balancing your immune system.
Yeah, she's really talking about how, you know, the stress in our lives negatively impacts the immune system, and when we want a balanced immune system, we've got to work with our mindset, our stress, our lifestyle, and all of that. So yeah, really goes together.
Okay. Well, there's part one. See, I'm glad we sat down and started talking on video already. Other things on our list to talk about today. Maybe the affiliates program we could touch a little bit. I'll get Marie to introduce it, and then I'll follow up with some of the sort of technical bits. And I'm going to stop right there. That's a little segue to...